So today I'm going to show you guys how to frag up some zoas the way that I do it. Personally, I'll probably be fragging up this little utter chaos and some, I think I had some other ones up here, utter chaos and some yodas, the ones that are encrusting the plugs all together. I'll show you how I do it personally. You see I got a lot of zoas and stuff that I need to frag up. This is just my holding tanks and stuff for now, but yeah, I'm going to show you the way I do it. So this is where I'm going to be doing the fragging today. I actually just sit at my little coffee table here, and while I'm here, I can actually just watch Netflix or whatever I want to do. All the stuff that I usually use though is a towel to protect my area. Frag plugs, super glue. It's nice to have a surface that's going to hold the frag plugs for you when they're standing upright. So we'll set this all up here in a second. Alright, so this is my setup for fragging zoas. So basically first off I have little frag plugs. Generally this is stuff that I'll frag and either sell right away or trade or whatever, you know, the little stuff I'm not trying to grow. The next ones I have are the mediums. You know, those are the ones that I probably want to like grow and keep for a while, or have a you know, let it grow for a little while and frag it up later or something like that. That's generally how I do it, because it just makes it easier for my own eyes and organization. Sometimes I have a trash, because you'll be surprised how much trash we actually break off once we start fragging. This is tank water, and I let the frags cure in there, so that way I don't get super glue in the tanks and stuff like that. Sometimes you'll have your fish eat super glue and stuff like that. I have a little bit of tank water in here, and what this is for is actually we'll let the plugs just get a little bit wet before we start using them. And what that does is it creates less air bubbles for the super glue when they're curing. It's just something I've picked up over the years. This one is where I actually go grab the frags from the tank, and you know, to be cut basically and then done. And this is where I'll let them, my little workspace. And of course you need a good pair of stainless steel cutters. That makes a big difference. Super glue. I put the towel underneath so that way I'm not going to ruin my coffee table here. But you know, fragging zoas, you can usually sit here and just take your time and not have anything crazy go on. So let's go grab some corals. Alright, so yeah, this is my to be cut pile. Like I said, I'll usually take this over. And personally, I don't like to grab more than like 3 to 5 frags. We try to put as minimum stress on the corals as possible. So having as few frags as possible to actually frag means that they're going to be out of the tank as less as possible. So we'll grab those out of chaos. Got some more over here that I wanted to grab. See, nice full plugs. Some more outer chaos right here. Snail's holding that one down. And then the other one I wanted to grab was this Yoda. These are Yodas. Some of my favorites. Those yellows are so unique. So yeah, we'll just take those 3 and we'll start with those. So yeah, we're back to the fragging station. I got those couple corals. Actually, something I didn't note earlier, it's nice to have some tweezers. So not stick your fingers in the water all the time. Sometimes you'll notice that your fingers will dry out actually from being in the water all day. And you'll get blisters and stuff like that. So we'll start cutting these up and I'll show you what I'm going to look like. So I'll just put some medium ones in the water now. Got a couple small ones, but I like to have at least like 4 or 5 of each one in there. And yeah, let me mount the camera so I can have 2 hands again. Alright, not the most elegant view, but you can see all the good stuff. So just sit down and get to work. Alright, so let's just take this guy for example. Here's the camera. Yeah, so there you go. You can actually see there's just a bunch of polyps all over the place, and they're fat, fully encrusted off the plug. Once they get this big, you know, they'll go underneath. But I mean, they'll pretty much stop growing there. You don't really want that to happen. So that's where we take it, and we'll take the tool, and we'll actually go. Best place to go is right in between the polyps. So if you can see that right there. So yeah, you'll know it's a good cut because the zoas won't actually shrivel up. You see this one's starting to shrivel actually a little bit just because I stressed it a little bit. You just keep cutting away. Cut in between the polyps. You know, some people like to use a razor blade. I use this thing. use cutters. That way I can really control the cut. So yeah, there we go. Me cutting it there, and then got a tiny little bit of tissue over here. So there you go, I split that off already. You can see that's a nice little polyp already still intact. I like to let them sit in the water for a minute. That way they can just kind of hang out and wait to be glued. I'm gonna go right here. Sometimes that'll happen. You can potentially lose corals. I've had them fly before. Like I said, we're hanging out outside the water a while, and then the other stuff's just sitting in the bin. So that's why I don't like to take maybe 3 or 4 out, maybe 5 maximum at the same time. And that way you're just trying to do as the least amount of stress to the corals as possible. Least amount of stress means less healing time, which means the faster they're growing, which means the faster you can do this again. So that's a trash piece. There's no corals on that. That's what I was talking about. We have that little trash bin. So this is actually straight zoa, so you can actually still just cut through as best you can and glue it, and it'll probably be alright. Zoas are pretty freaking tough. So yeah, there we go. A couple polyps of zoas. I'll just throw that in the to be glued. This is probably 2-3 polyps right there. I'm not sure if you can see that. And I'll just leave that be. And I just try to cut everything up. Here you go, here's another. You can see all those polyps. So, with this one, again, I'll just cut between the polyps, just so I can start it. See the trash piece, that doesn't happen. Sometimes you have to do some, like that's all trash now. I got all the zoas in my hand, this tiny little piece. So I'm gonna have to split this tiny piece apart. And this is where it gets kind of difficult sometimes with stuff like this. Some people will use the saws and stuff like that, but if you use a saw, you're gonna destroy zoas, I can tell you right now. This is gonna destroy zoas a little bit too, but sometimes you can just control the cuts a little bit more. And the noise level too. I mean, the saw is cool and all, but I'm not a big fan on the noise level unless I have to use it. Unfortunately, this one didn't go very well. It happens sometimes. That's why I usually like to frag them when they're fully a bunch of zoas, because you may lose them. It's just part of the process. We're cutting these things up into pieces, you know. That was a good cut right there. You see how it's this little, there you go. So that's a perfect little frag right there with 2 or 3 polyps. It came off really easy. There you go again. Just kind of try not to rip them. You know, I know it happens, but it's definitely the thing you want to try avoiding. So yeah, there we go. There's another couple little polyps. We'll just throw them in there for now and keep working. Cool, so that came off really easy. Couple polyps, we'll mess with that in a second. And then there's actually 1 polyp left on that, so I wouldn't like to leave that. It's kind of ugly. So let's just cut off all that extra, and we'll re-glue it on the frag plug so it looks nice and has an opportunity to grow again. Like that's 1 individual little polyp there. So yeah. Now we can take those plugs that we pre-soaked, and I mean Utter Chaos and the Yodas are some of my favorites, so I'll probably just use mostly medium plugs here. This is the glue that I like to use, the dollar store glue, super glue gel. I know we pre-soaked it, but we really want it dry when we get ready to glue, so I usually just put a dab right in the middle. And now we can take one of those frags we made. So for instance, this guy. Ooh. You know, and just make sure it's good enough glue, looks good. So that's why I have this rack, so we can set it down, keep working. But honestly, with this type of stuff, it's not going to go anywhere. You can just throw it in the curing already. I'll scoop it a little. We can see that a little bit better, but yeah, just got that curing in that water now. We can just keep moving on. I usually just blow on it to get a little dry. Again, a nice dab in the middle. So here's that little individual polyp. So that's it, there's one, you know. It's not the prettiest. We probably could have cleaned this up, taken more rock off, but it's okay. Dab in the middle. So this one has a couple polyps. You can probably see that on the camera. There's that dark tissue. Just cut off that rock just to make it a little cleaner. Gonna be a nice fat polyps there. So that's trash now. Go through a lot of super glue. It's trash. So that's just straight zoas. Sometimes there's no rock in there. Sometimes you do this. Sometimes they'll melt. Sometimes they'll survive. It really depends on the zoa. And you see these ones that are curing, they're not putting off any bubbles. It's because we pre-soaked them. Pre-soaking them is huge. If you don't pre-soak them, they will release a lot of bubbles actually into the super glue, and it'll change stuff. That's pretty ugly piece of rock right there, so we'll trim that up. Much better. So there's all of our frags we created. That's why I like these ones, because one is to be done and one is done. I can leave these in here for a couple minutes and know that that's need to be go back in the tank. Not be confused on what needs to be glued or what needs to be cut, or etc. etc. So yeah, again, here's my little fragging station. So we're back to the tank now. We can just transfer these guys back into the tank. Again, back to the tweezers. I really like having tweezers so you're not sticking your hands in the tank all the time. I'll set them all up on this little rack so we can actually see exactly what we created once they start opening back up. They usually take a couple hours to open them up, but honestly the next day is when you really want to, or Ras checking out what we just created. And that's creating zoas, start to finish basically. You know, turned all those utter chaos and those Yodas into what? Turned 3 into, that's 8, 9, and then 10. Alright, last one. I didn't really go crazy. You can do individual polyps. I don't really like to do that. You know, I just like fragging just to have backups and stuff, and just to have them. The more you frag your zoas, the faster they'll grow, from my experience, you know, because they grow around in a circle, always around from the polyp. So the more surface area around your polyps, the more opportunity for them to grow. So yeah, I'll take a picture in a little bit once these are open. 1 hour later, you see they're starting to open back up. And this is the next day. You know, they'll just get nicer as it goes, but you know, they look this good already the next day. So yeah, that's the process for creating zoas. You could sit here and rinse and repeat and do that all day. And like I said, I do 3 or 5 at a time, but I'll sit here and do 40 frags. It's nice to have backups, it's nice to have frags for sale, trade, whatever, but zoas are pretty easy to do, I feel like. And yeah, you can sit here and do them, watch TV, whatever you want to do, but thanks for checking it out.